Hey guys, Ramblin' Man Moto here, coming at you on a warm day here in the Commonwealth. Question I want to consider today is I've seen a few forums and discussions where people were mad that this DJI Osmo Action 4 does not sync up to the Cardo. It'll sync to the DJI Wireless Mic, which I have inside my helmet. And you can use, of course, an adapter to do a wired mic. But I saw a number of responses on these forums say something like, well, it's just not practical to use the DJI Wireless Mic in a motorcycle helmet. And I wanted to talk about that. I'll see you on the road. We'll pick this up on the road. Alright guys, this is Ramblin' Man on the road, picking up our conversation about whether the DJI Wireless Mic is practical to keep in your helmet. So, you know, everyone's expectations are different and their requirements of what they want of their equipment. On the GoPro, I was growing increasingly frustrated with the fact that with their adapter, many times the microphone I had attached wasn't recognized and would fail. And to me, that's not practical to keep having that issue. And that was a wired mic. So I first tried the Ace Pro in part because they touted that it could sync with the Cardo Pack Talk Edge, which is what I use. Now, I have a Cardo Pack Talk Edge and had never used it until just recently to sync with other riders and have a conversation. I had it mainly so I could use my phone to make a phone call in an emergency or an accident and listen to music and to use Siri and such. But I found when I synced the Ace Pro camera with my Cardo, and they tell you this in their marketing material, they don't want it synced to the phone at the same time. They want you to cut Bluetooth off on the phone. Well, that's just not, to me, that's not practical. And it was really disappointing. So, but I tried to sync, you know, my phone was connection 1 to the Cardo, and the camera was connection 2. They're both by Bluetooth. And when I tried to stream music, our simulated conversation connection, that one was harder to do, but I was trying to do it with my other Cardo. I have 2 Cardo units. Both times there was a lot of static and hesitation and disconnection. And, you know, to me, to say, well, you've got to pick whether you want your camera connected to record your voice or your phone, that's not practical. You know, why should we have to choose? And so one of the critiques of the DJI Osmo Action 4 in the discussion forums I was on DJI's site is that they don't have this capability that other cameras have. Well, I'm sure if they rolled it out the way the other cameras have, it's going to have the same downside as well, which is you got to pick one or the other, the camera or your phone, but not both. And so even if they came out with that feature, it's not going to do a lot for me. So then that leads us to, well, the DJI Wireless Mic 2, it could have synced to the Ace Pro, or it can sync to this DJI product. Now I got this DJI because one, I thought it easier to sync DJI equipment with DJI camera and a mic together. But also this camera got rave reviews from the motovlogging world. And I have to say, I think the picture on the Ace Pro is actually better. I didn't have to do a lot of futzing around with sharpness and what have you. They just had some presets and I used one of them and I was pleased with the picture. You guys gave me good feedback on the picture. Whereas with this camera, I feel like I've really been kind of having to dial it in, and I'm still not sure I've got it. I think I'm close, but I still don't have it where I think it's right. But in terms of the wireless mic, it has a very long battery life, so in that sense it's practical. I did have to play around a little bit with where to mount it, and right now, after a lot of trial and error, the first time I put it in, I must have just hit and gotten lucky in a sweet spot, but I removed it to test some magnetic tape. That was a failure. The magnetic tape wasn't strong enough to hold it, so I went back to using 3M double-sided tape with the DJI magnet inside the helmet. And then I bought some spare magnets off Amazon, just generic magnets that I can use to mount the microphone transmitter to my shirt if I want to, or I could clip it. But in terms of like where it is right now in my helmet, I'm wearing a modular helmet. I can lift the modular part of the helmet and not have it hit the lid. That's why it took me a bit to get a sweet spot, because I wanted to be able to lift my helmet and not have it fall off. Installing the helmet and putting it on my head, I do find I have to take the microphone off. And on the sound, I dare say if I hadn't told you guys I was recording by Bluetooth, I'm not sure many of you would have known, but I'm recording right now. And you think what you will of the sound, at least when I've heard it, it sounded fine for my purposes. The little bit of the outside noise. I do have gain all the way at -12, and I found that's the maximum it'll go by Bluetooth. And I found it at -11 there was still some noise in the microphone sound I didn't like. So this seems to be the sweet spot for that. I've run errands where I've lifted the helmet up and down repeatedly with no problem. Oh, also when it comes to putting the helmet on, I should back up. You can put the helmet on if you lift the lid up. So if you lift the modular part of the helmet up, install the helmet, and then pull the modular part down. I did that all day the other day, no problem. But if you leave the modular part down and stick your head through, your head's going to hit the microphone, is what I found. Which brings me to my experience on the Shoei full face helmet. I did mount the microphone inside that helmet with pretty much the same outcome, is that it's barely touching my cheek, and let's see, as I'm sitting here, just ever so slightly the transmitter is touching my right cheek, and ever so slightly the dead cat is touching my upper lip, and I'm not even thinking about it. It's just, it doesn't bother me. And it's the same in the full face helmet, but I did find I can't really put my head into the helmet with the microphone there. So, you know, all I do is take the mic off and then drop it in, and it works. It's solid, and it's not wired. There's not one more wire running. Now, I don't necessarily mind the wire when it's reliable, and usually I would prefer wired over wireless. But in this case, the Bluetooth seems to be working. The wired makes the camera not as waterproof, or not waterproof. So why is it not practical? The people I've seen make the comments don't elaborate. I guess they just assume everyone agrees, and to me, yeah, would I love it to be wired and just work? Yep. But as we've learned with GoPro, being wired has its own downsides and is not always reliable. So anyhow, I believe this is going to be kind of my setup going forward, is this Bluetooth wireless mic. I think you do have to be careful that you don't lose this transmitter. I could see where that would be easy to have happen. I did play around with some different positions where when I lifted the helmet, it knocked the microphone off. So it's important as you get to the center, at least on my helmet, the center, you have more space. But you also, if you put it too low, it's going to rub your mouth and chin and just be uncomfortable. And so I'm really happy with how I have it situated. Now, as I set up this new helmet, the Neotech 3, I still don't have the 3D printed adapter part that I can install my Cardo, and I'm going to have the boom mic. I think that 3D part should show up tomorrow. So that's kind of my verdict, is that I think the DJI Wireless Mic is worth your consideration. I wouldn't rule it out as not practical. You do have to charge it eventually. And the other thing I believe is that you can only pair one transmitter at a time to the camera. So you would not be able to record to the camera the sound of, say, your exhaust or a passenger, maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But from what I did read a couple of comments that you can... Actually, I think Osmo and DJI make this point, is that you can only pair one transmitter at a time to the camera. But, you know, if you wanted to record with the other transmitter separately, you could just record straight to the transmitter. You know, that's an option. So my verdict is, it is practical, and you should consider it, especially if you just prefer wireless and not having to run another wire. I think it's, in this case, more reliable than the GoPro wired connection. And if you don't mind slightly fiddling with installing the unit now and then when you get on and off the bike. And most of my rides, you know, even if they're all day, I think this wireless mic will last and be fine. It has a portable charging case that if I was taking a multi-day trip, I would bring it along and maybe charge the case in real time. So anyhow, that's my verdict on that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.